In April of 2018, after committing one of the worst crimes in Canadian history, 25-year-old Alek Minassian was asked by a detective how he was feeling. His response: "I feel like I accomplished my mission." Motivated by a deep-seated hatred for good-looking people, he had ended the lives of 11 individuals and injured many more. This is the story of the Toronto van attack.
It's basically a movement of angry incels, such as myself, who are unable to get laid there, and then I drive it, take it downtown to Toronto, start using it as a weapon.
Okay, all right.
Born in Toronto in 1992, Alek Minassian, a second-generation Canadian, was born to his Armenian father and Iranian mother. A bright yet reserved child, Alek often struggled with communication due to his quiet, sensitive nature and several development disorders, including Asperger's syndrome and autism. These challenges relegated him to special education classes throughout his schooling, where he was often bullied, even earning the nickname Chewbacca because of his constant grunting. Despite the difficulties, he completed his education and enrolled at Seneca College in 2011. However, his adult life proved challenging, and his unconventional behaviour often alienated potential employers, making it difficult to maintain a job beyond a few months. But it was his unsuccessful interactions with women that marked the beginning of his descent into the dark side of the internet. Although for the time being he would keep his frustrations to himself, he eventually turned to an online community of incels or involuntary celibates. In other words, virgins not by choice. To the incel community, Chads and Stacys were enemy number one. A Stacy was an attractive female, and a Chad was the guy who could get them. For many, these forums were just a place to vent with like-minded people. However, for the die-hard incel, they were a breeding ground for fanaticism and the birthplace of a dark rebellion known as the Beta Male Uprising. One of Alek Minassian's first contacts was Elliot Rodger, often dubbed the father of the incel movement. In 2014, 22-year-old Elliot Rodger would go on to kill 6 people and injure 14 others near the University of California, Santa Barbara, through a horrifying mix of shootings, knife attacks, and vehicle ramming. Although an appalling act, to Alek Minassian it stood as a perverse form of encouragement. Although meeting Elliot Rodger was an influential moment in Alek's life, for the following 3 years, Alek would knuckle down and in 2017 joined the Canadian Army, although this lasted just 16 days. Faced with yet another personal setback, he would return to the incel forums with increased enthusiasm. Unbeknownst to those around him, he was already plotting a violent response to what he now deemed as his meaningless existence. In early April of 2018, Alek reserved a Chevrolet Express van from rental company Ryder. His choice of vehicle was simple: narrow enough to drive on a sidewalk, yet heavy enough for maximum damage. In other words, the perfect weapon. On the morning of April 23, 2018, he made a cryptic Facebook post stating the incel rebellion had begun and that all Chads and Stacys would be overthrown. He signed off with, "All hail the Supreme Gentleman Elliot Rodger." After an uneventful drive from the suburbs, shortly after 1 p.m, he barreled through a red light on Finch Avenue in downtown Toronto. He veered onto the sidewalks on Yonge Street, where he intentionally mowed down several unsuspecting pedestrians. Accelerating and swerving to hit as many as possible, the rampage continued for several blocks as he exited and re-entered the sidewalk many times along the way. By the time the van was captured by a security camera on Tolman Street at 1:24 p.m, 9 victims were already dead and many more were injured. The first call to 911 was made at 1:25 p.m, but moments later the rampage had come to a stop. The van had sustained damage, and the drink of a victim had splashed on his windshield, obscuring Alek's view. Traffic Control Officer Ken Lamb was nearby when he was instructed to respond to the emergency. After a tense but brief standoff, Alek dropped the wallet he was pretending to be a weapon and was immediately arrested. All in all, 9 people had died, 17 people had been left injured, 2 of them would die later. At the police station, Alek remained stoic and remorseless throughout the 4-hour interview. He admitted that he was an incel and a virgin, that he never had a girlfriend, and that the goal of the attack was to kill as many people as possible, and it was a resounding success.
Overthrow the Chads, which would force the Stacys to be forced to reproduce with the incels.
Right. 10 people died here today. 15 people were seriously injured. I think it's important to ask how you feel about that.
I feel like I accomplished my mission.
If the families of those people who were murdered and who were injured were in this room right now, what would you say to them?
I honestly don't know what I would say. The only reason I stopped my attack was because someone's drink got splashed on my windshield, and I was worried that I would crash the van anyway, so I decided, okay, now I wanted to do more, but I've kind of been foiled by a lack of visibility.
During the interview, he reaffirmed how he was inspired by other men of action such as Alek Rodger. He told a story about a Halloween party 1 year earlier, which accelerated his journey to radicalization. That evening, Alek tried to strike up conversation with several women, but each time he was brushed off or ignored, and even laughed at in front of others. He said it made him angry when women threw themselves at other men, while they treated a gentleman such as himself with thinly veiled scorn and derision. Alek was charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder in court the day following the attack. However, his trial didn't begin until 2020 and was done remotely due to the pandemic. During the trial, an 11th victim died who had been paralyzed from the neck down and had never left hospital. Alek never denied carrying out the attack, but his attorney argued he wasn't criminally liable because of his mental disorder, and he entered a plea of not criminally responsible. Eyewitnesses, law enforcement officers, and mental health professionals all testified during the trial. Nearly everyone agreed that he was motivated by sexual frustration and misogyny, but that wasn't the whole story. According to some psychiatrists, his main motivation may have been a desire for notoriety. To prevent him from getting the attention he sought, the judge referred to him only as Mr. Doe throughout the trial. In the end, he was found guilty on all counts in March of 2021. Alek was sentenced to life in prison and will be eligible for parole in 25 years. If you found value in today's video, I'd love it if you subscribed and joined me for the next one. To watch another of my Canadian crime stories, you can click the link on screen. And, as always, thanks for watching.